This video is about coloring balloons using transparency techniques. There are a variety of goals for this video. One of them is to teach transparency, another is to teach coloring of two or more balloons that are overlapping, another is to teach shading of balloons, and also to teach highlighting of balloons. There are three prerequisite skills. It is assumed that you can lay down color using the circling technique and the flicking technique. Also, that you can use the blending pen to push the color out of the way. If you cannot, go back to our basic skills to learn them.
Tonight we're going to talk about coloring transparent things with your Copic markers, such as these balloons and the wings on the ferry. We're going to be using our colorless blender tonight, G20, G21, G24, RV000, RV00, R81, B0000, B000, and B00. So to start with, we are going to color the foreground balloon first. And we are going to be using the pink shades, the RV000 first. And we're going to start by circling in this balloon, keeping our leading edge wet, which means we're going back over where we have just colored, keeping all of our ink damp so that we prevent streaking and lines in our markers. So we're just getting a nice even tone across this entire balloon. Now once you have that color down, we're going to come in with our RV00, and we're going to assume our light source is coming from the top. So we're going to start flicking in this next shade from the bottom of the balloon up toward the top. You want to kind of follow the shape of that balloon. And I like to put a little dip there at the top. And then you're going to come back in with your R81, and again you're going to flick some of that in where you want that darkest shadow to be. And we've got our first balloon done. And now we're going to come in and we're going to put in our green balloon, starting with G20. We are going to circle this in, and you're going to circle in as if you have an imaginary line through that front balloon. You're circling this color in over this entire balloon, including the pink area on that first balloon you colored. This gives it the feeling of transparency, that you're seeing through that front balloon and picking up just a little bit of this green underneath. So again, you're getting a nice even tone over the whole balloon. And then you're coming in with your G21, and just like with the pink balloon, you're flicking in your shadow, but you're catching just a little bit of that imaginary line coming up through that balloon as well. And you're going to come back in and flick a little bit with that G20. Okay, and you see where we've put in this imaginary line with that G21, and now we're just sort of blending that shadow in to the balloon with the G20. And then you're going to come in with your darkest shade, which is the G24, and you're going to just very lightly flick that in where you want your darkest shadow to be. You won't be putting that one so much onto where your balloons overlap each other. You don't want that color too intense through that front balloon. And again, blend it down into the base with the G20. I'd like to add a little bit of shadow up in here, so I'm going to flick in a little bit of that G21 in there. And then blend it down into the base with the G20. And that's how you color your green balloon. Now we're going to color the third balloon using our blue tones. So we're going to start with the B0000, and we're going to circle this in, again keeping our leading edge wet. And again, we are going to put in our imaginary line for the back part of that balloon. We're circling in over this front balloon and the green balloon. Until we get nice even coverage with this light aqua color. Then we're going to come in with our B000, and we're going to start flicking in from the base in kind of a broad curved stroke to mimic the shape of that balloon. Blend it down into the base using your base color, the B0000. And then you're going to come in with your darkest shade, which is your B00. And you're going to flick that in where you want your darkest shadow. And again, you blend that into the base using your original color. And we're going to sneak up the side of the balloon just a little bit with that B00 to add a little more shape to that balloon. And that's how you color the aqua balloon. I'm going to go in and add a little more shape to this green one here. By picking up the G21 and flicking in just a little bit of shape to that balloon and blending it down into the base with the G20. And now when you're done with the balloons like that, you can come back in with your colorless blender, and where you have highlights in your balloons or the brightest light maybe reflecting on your balloon off of a source, you can push that color out by putting your colorless blender pen down onto the paper gently. And if you move it very slowly, you'll be sort of pushing that color away from that area and leaving the illusion of a shine or reflection on that material. So the colorless blender is actually pushing your ink away from where you're putting that down onto the paper. And I move real slow so that it'll push out And it's very subtle. It's probably hard to see there on the camera. But you really get the illusion of this transparent balloon when you add the shine in with this colorless blender. And that's how we do our transparent balloons. So in review with coloring these balloons with your Copic markers, we choose some lighter colors and we keep the lightest color toward the back so that it's not too strong coming up through this front balloon, because this ink saturation is going to get more and more intense as you're adding these layers from these back balloons. And you're drawing in imaginary lines as you're coloring to give the illusion of the back part of that balloon just peeking through that front balloon, and you really get that transparent look that way. And then we also shade along the edges to give the illusion of shape, and also that will peek through the other balloons as well. And then we use our colorless blender as our highlights at the top here, where our light source is bouncing off of that rubberized material that those balloons are made out of.
You can use a variety of colors of Copic markers for your balloons.